Alright, so before you start the Mach 4, you want to be sure you turn on your unit first. Let it kind of boot up for a second. Then you can start Mach 4 or Mach 3, whichever one you're using. This is the profile that I'll be using. It's going to load up. I'm using a Warp 9 board in there, that's why it's showing that. Okay, and here we are loaded. Now, the first thing I want to show you is a little idiosyncrasy with this thing. And so if you come in here and you enable this, and you come up here, and let's go to the MIDI window, and let's tell it to do a spindle speed of 20,000. And hit start. Okay, you're just getting weird numbers. A lot of times nothing happens. Okay? So we're going to stop that. Okay, so the problem is you need to come over here and hit run on this machine right here. Now if I go over here and I start that MIDI cycle, it's going to spin right up. Okay? Now the other thing I want to show you is over here on this right hand side of this program, you can stop and start the spindle by clicking on this button. If you start this program up and you come over here and you click on this and nothing happens, that's because this button doesn't know what speed to run the spindle at. So if you come and click it and you haven't set the spindle to something previous, like if you haven't set the spindle to run at a speed since you started this program up, it doesn't know what to do, so it won't do anything. When you click this button right here like that, what it's telling it is start the spindle at the last speed it was programmed to. Okay? So just because you come in here and click this button and nothing happens doesn't mean that something's broken. Alright, so let's get started with cutting our part. So now the first thing we want to do is reference our machine home. So we're going to go in the upper left hand corner here and reference all axes home. And I have limit switches on my machine. To me that's the easiest way to do this. So that's what I've done. I've already got my part mounted, and I've got a separate video on how I mounted this. I didn't come up with this. It's all over the internet about how you can mount it with blue tape and some crazy glue. Alright, so the next thing we want to do is we want to zero the top of our part. So we want to get our work offset. So we're going to go over here, go to the upper thing and hit offsets up here, and we want to click the G54 button because when we did our G code we told it we were going to use G54. Okay, so now we're going to go to the touch button down here, and I'm going to tell it to find Z. It's in this bottom corner right here. Now I've already, these probe rates are all set up, but the main thing here is my touch plate height. My touch plate is this right here. I made this 3D printed it, and it just happens to be a random thickness of 0.840. So right here you'll see my touch plate is 0.840. So that's what it's going to set it to after, well, it's going to set it to that because it's going to retract 0.1, so it's going to set it to 0.94 or 0.938 or something really close to that when it sets it. Okay? First thing we got to do is move it to where we're on top of our part. Okay, so we want to make sure that the touch plate's going to hit. We're going to lower this down. Okay, my bit, just like that. This also has a little spring to it because I've crashed a lot of stuff. So this way, if it just keeps going for some reason and doesn't stop, it's got a little bit of wiggle room there. Alright, so now I'm going to right click the button to find Z. It's going to move down and touch it, and then jump back 10 thousandths, or jump back 100 thousandths. So you can see right here it has set the Z to 0.9396. So basically at 0.94, which is where we expected it to be. Now, the other thing that we need to tell the machine is where is the X and Y 0 point for our part, and that is going to be right here. We set that up when we did our model in Fusion 360. So the easiest way to do that is to come down, get a little closer, and on this part you can use an edge finder and all kinds of fancy stuff to find your edges. For this part, I just need to, near enough is good enough. So I'm just going to center this bit over this edge and center it over this edge, and that will give me that center point right there, and I'll be ready to go. So I'm just going to look down through here. And I'm happy with that one. And then I'm going to come this way till I'm happy there. Okay, and so at that point, I'm going to leave this touch-off window, and I'm going to go to Run, Program Run up here, and I'm going to 0 my X, and I'm going to 0 my Y. All right, so now we're going to load our G-code. We go to File Ops down here, Load G-code, and we're going to load this one right here. Okay, so now you can see our part on the screen, and we can see that when the cutter is down here, it is in the bottom left corner. And now if we run it, we're going to have plenty of plexiglass here. I know because I cut it too long. I just left what was on there. But we can run all the way down here, and now we see that we're at the end of the part, and we still have lots of plexiglass left. The other thing I want to check is, do I have enough height? So I'm going to come right here. That is one of the 3 tallest parts of the part. They're all the same. And if I run up to the top and I get right there, I see that, oh yes, I'm right here, and I still have plenty of plexiglass left up there. So I'm good to go. I'm ready to start cutting my part. All right, so the next thing to do is to come down here and hit Start G-code. The spindle's going to get up to speed. And that's the end of that operation. I'm going to go ahead and bring us back to 0. That's got our part cut out. Now, I'm actually going to do another operation on this part. I'm going to cut some grooves in here, and I didn't show how to make the G-code for that. Okay, now I've got this bit changed out, and I've got an engraving bit in here, and I have to tell it what the setting is, where is the end of this bit, because it doesn't know that. So I've got to come over here and redo the Z. And so I just go back. So I just go back here to my probing, or no, wait. I just go down here to touch and hit the Z again. Always make sure you've got both of these wires hooked up. Hit the Z. Okay, and now this bit has been zeroed and it's ready to go. Cycle start. Alright, and that's our finished part right there. Let me get this loose. This method sticks this stuff down really good. So there's our part cut out, and there's the grooves that I cut into it right there. And these grooves, they're cut in there using the trace function in Fusion 360, and I didn't show that just because I'm not very skilled at how to make these. I couldn't really figure out how you set the depth on them. There's tutorials out there on how to do that, so if you're wanting to do something like that, just look up the trace function on there. I hope this was helpful to you, or at least interesting. Thank you for watching.